Oh, hello, and welcome to the Burt Locker Fights in 15. We've finally got some fights back at the weekend. The main event is it's a storming main event. The rest of the card, I mean, it's got some good fights on there, but it is lacking star power considering it's the first event in it feels like forever. You know, it feels like it's been a long time since we've had some fights. But in any event, if you're new to this, what I do is I basically try and break down a few of the fights that I'm interested in 15 minutes or less. Sometimes it runs over. I don't know why it's called the Burt Locker Fights in 15, really. I'm very rarely on 15 minutes, if I'm honest. But either way, Sky Bet have kind of dropped the ball because a lot of the odds aren't even out yet, so I'm going to have to revert back when I've actually finally put my accumulator on because they're not even offering odds on. They've got no odds at all on one of the fights I'm interested in, but I'm going to break them down. I'm going to make my picks anyway. So, like I said, if that sounds interesting to you, just stick with me for the next kind of 15 minutes or so for the Burt Locker Fights in 15 for UFC Vegas 46, Kattar versus Chikadze. Now, first up, one of the fights I was going to bet on is off. It's been scratched to UFC 270 now, I think. The Michel Pereira fight. I'm not 100% sure on his opponent. His opponent was coming in as a favourite, so he must be someone of note. I'll have to do a bit more research onto him because it wasn't a name that jumped off the page to me, if I'm being totally honest. But obviously I know who Michel Pereira is, but I didn't know his opponent was. But obviously I've got some more time to look into that now because that's been postponed until UFC 270 or whatever it is. But yeah, one of the fights I was interested in on this one, it's on the prelims. Brian Kelleher against Said Yakub Kakramanov. So, Kakramanov, he's 9-2. He seems to be a good submission guy from what I can gather. He's got 4 submissions. He's pretty new to the UFC, but he's coming off one impressive win. Guillotine over Tevin Jones just in August, so what wasn't that long ago. But for me, I mean, this one, again, there aren't any odds on it at the moment, so I'll have to look back on it. But from what I can see, Kelleher is the underdog on the Vegas card anyway. But not 100% sure what. Actually, no, I think he might be the favourite. Either way, I think that Kelleher might win this one because, look, Kelleher, he's a veteran. He's got like 35 fights total, 23 wins. He's got 12 losses, so he does have ups and downs. But what jumps off the page for me on this one is that Brian Kelleher is just very well rounded. He hasn't really got any weaknesses. He's got no glaring weaknesses. He's not like outstanding in any one area apart from his power. He does have terrific power. He's got very good knockout power. So he's also got some good submissions though, because when you look at his record on like where he finishes fights, it's kind of pick your poison. You know, he is very, very well rounded, and I think on the Vegas odds, Said Yakub is the favourite, but for me, I don't know what it is on Sky Bet. I'll find out tomorrow. But for me, I am going with Kelleher here because I just think he's too experienced and he's just too well-rounded, you know? And I can see him possibly getting the knockout here as well because he does have good power. Like I said, Kakramanov might well be, you know, a young stud who's going to become a household name in no time. Like, you know, you never can tell. There are some people that just manage to do that, but I don't know. It will certainly be a good test against Kelleher to see where Kakramanov is in terms of his skill level, because Kelleher is very, very good. Like I say, he does have ups and downs, but when he turns up big, and I think he turns up big in this one. I think he gets the knockout. The other fight I'm looking at is TJ Brown against Charles Rosa. Now, this is quite an intriguing battle for you Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu fans, right? Because this one is basically 2 Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belts. You've got TJ Brown, who is a black belt under Delgado, and Rosa is a black belt under Ricardo Liborio. So both very high, quite prestigious guys there, and they're, you know, like I said, both black belts. They don't just hand those things out. You really do have to earn them. They're both very impressive. They've both got a lot of submissions under their belt. They're both clearly very good grapplers. Now, a lot of the time when you have 2 excellent grapplers, like elite level grapplers, they're often going to... it cancels each other out. They're probably not going to try it. I mean, it would be a nice feather in either one of their caps to get a submission over the other guy. But more often than not, you'll just end up seeing two predominantly jiu-jitsu guys like duking it out on the feet. Because, and so really what we've got to look at here, but on that assumption, what we've got to look at really is who is the better striker. Now, I don't know is the answer. I have no idea who the better striker is. Rosa, I'm slightly more familiar with than TJ Brown. But I don't think either of their striking is particularly their standout quality with respect. So, look, Brown, he has more KOs on his record by one. Rosa has been knocked out less. So it's kind of like, which one do you go with? Do you go with the more... For me, I think, he's only been knocked out one time, so he's been knocked out less than Brown. Rosa is probably, by that logic, maybe a smidgen more durable. So that's what I'm going with. But again, Skybet have dropped the ball because there are no odds at all on this fight, which is quite frankly, and I really can't be bothered to set up another betting account just to have a look. I will come back with the odds tomorrow. I'll do a short video of all my, putting my accumulator on, because I want to know what the odds are. I want to know what the odds are on Rosa getting the knockout. Because I think they're going to duke it out. They're going to slug it out, these guys. 155 pounders, that's some pretty decent power. You've got two jiu-jitsu guys who are going to slug it out. I think Rosa, just a smidgen more durable. So I think he is going to be able to wear those shots better than TJ Brown. And he's going to return with some and get the knockout. And that is my pick. Rosa by knockout. And then you've got the main event. This is a really fun main event. Like, Calvin Kattar versus Giga Chikadze is an incredible main event. Like, look, everybody knows that, if you've watched this before, you know I'm a huge fan of Giga Chikadze. I mean, I did pick against him when he fought Edson Barbosa. I thought Edson Barbosa might have his number because I thought, if you're standing with Edson Barbosa, how do you pick against Edson Barbosa in a stand-up fight? And Giga Chikadze was just a step quicker. Everything he threw was just so fast. And he's in and he's out. And at kicking range, he is devastating. And that is where I think this one is going to go. Because look, don't get me wrong. Like, Calvin Kattar, he is a phenomenal fighter. He's really good. His boxing is outstanding. Max Holloway fight aside, right? He does go in with that boxing heavy style, and because he is very good at it, he's got decent power and he's got good hands. But the problem is going to be at kicking range for Calvin Kattar, because in kicking range, that's no good. That's no good against Giga Chikadze, my man. It just isn't. Like, anybody stands in kicking range with Giga Chikadze is going to pay for it. That Giga kick is no joke. Do you know what I mean? He will smack that kick right into the liver, and that's it. You are donezo. You're not taking more than one of those. Do you know what I mean? And his last three opponents have found out how good he is at kicking range and how good he is on the feet in general. So to be able to knock out Edson Barbosa like that was absolutely incredible, because it's Edson Barbosa. Edson Barbosa is no joke. Do you know what I mean? He's one of the best strikers on the planet. So to go in there in a kickboxing match, it was effectively a kickboxing match in a UFC octagon. To be able to go in there and dominate Giga Chikadze and dominate Edson Barbosa like that is quite frankly unbelievable. Because look, Giga Chikadze, he had his share of decisions. He doesn't finish all the time. He only finishes opponents about, just better than half the time. So it's not like he was like a massive prolific finisher, but you've got to look at his recent record. He is on a 7-fight win streak in the UFC. It's longer than that. I think it's about 9 or 10 in total. But if you're just counting UFC fights, he is on a 7-fight win streak. His last 3 have been very impressive KOs. And he's only lost twice in his career, like very, very early on as well. So, and the thing is like, where's Kattar going to be mentally? Because we haven't seen him, don't forget, for about a year since he took that massive beatdown off of Max Holloway. Max Holloway just beat the fuck. It was the one where Max Holloway landed the most significant strikes in the history of the UFC, was dancing around looking at the commentary table saying, yeah, I'm the best boxer in the UFC, and that is a beating that takes something out of you. Do you know what I mean? There was an argument that they should have thrown in the towel, like honestly, because he was getting beaten up that badly. However, I would note that Kattar didn't go down. Do you know what I mean? He took all that punishment and he kept on swinging. And that's what is baffling me a little bit. It's throwing me a little bit, because you'd be forgiven for thinking, look, Giga Chikadze, he's on a real good run. It's likely to be at kicking range at least at some points in this fight. And Giga Chikadze has been finishing all of his fights lately. He's just going from strength to strength to strength, and he's annihilating people. And this is a 5-round fight as well. So you would be forgiven for thinking that, yeah, look, Giga Chikadze is getting the finish over 5 rounds. And there's a decent chance that he does so. There is a good chance that he does exactly that. However, slight caveat in that is the toughness of Calvin Kattar, because Calvin Kattar has never been knocked out. Never been knocked out. And he took a beat down off of Max Holloway and he still kept on coming, right? So I think actually you're getting better odds. This one they have got odds on. Thank you, Skybet. You're getting better odds on the Giga decision, because the Giga knockout is 2.50, the decision 3.75, and actually I do think there's a good chance that this goes to a decision, just because of how tough Calvin Kattar is, and if Giga Chikadze goes far enough ahead in the first 3 rounds, like, he doesn't necessarily have to take all the risks. He can still just, you know, kind of, it'll still be a good fight, but I just don't know. I think that the beating that Kattar is able to take, maybe that fight took something out of him. We might see him get, you know, knocked out early this time, or maybe we'll see him win. You know what I mean? I'm not counting out Kattar completely. Do you know what I mean? That'd be super disrespectful, because the guy's good. He's got good power in his hands, and he does have very slick boxing. But I just think the kicking range is going to be a real problem for Calvin Kattar. But I don't think that Kattar is going to go down. I think he's too tough for that. So I'm going with the Giga Chikadze by decision, and yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be fun, because I really want to see Giga Chikadze. I think he beats Kattar, if he beats him really impressively, if he goes against my bet and just absolutely just starches Kattar in rounds 1 or 2, then you've got an argument there for him to be heading towards a title shot, because Giga Chikadze is a scary, scary man. He's a bad man, and I am really looking forward to this main event. So I'll be obviously wrapping up, seeing how these bets actually go on Tuesday, Wednesday next week, you know, whenever I feel like it. And yeah, you know, fingers crossed. And until then, well, until next time, keep those odds long and those bets terrible.